Hi everyone, and welcome to the Week of Green Ember art lesson. Today we'll be doing a watercolor painting of the scene in Lighthall from the first book. So the supplies you'll need are watercolor paper and paint in your basic colors. You'll need a large and a small brush. You'll need tape so that your paper doesn't buckle and warp. You'll need 2 glasses of water, one for clean water and one for washing your brush off in. You'll need a waterproof pen. My go-to brand is a Micron, but a fine tip Sharpie is also waterproof. If you don't have a waterproof pen, a black colored pencil will also work. Before you start, make sure to test your pen to see if it's actually waterproof, because if it's not, it will mess up your picture after you've put in a lot of effort. Make sure to also test your colored pencil if that's what you're using, because as you can see, some brands of colored pencil are waterproof and some are not. You'll need a compass for this lesson, and if you can fit your pen into the compass, that's even better, but it's not needed. You'll need a ruler. I'm using this just because it's easier for me to hold. And you'll need a pencil. Now once you've gathered your supplies, let's get started. The first step is to take your ruler and you're going to make 2 parallel lines on either side of your paper. These will be the sides of your window. Now we want the window to fill up the entire page, so make them far enough apart and extend almost all the way down the paper. Now at the bottom of your window, not the bottom of your page, make 2 parallel lines to form the base of the window. Now at the top of the page, you're going to create another straight line across, and then measure and mark the midpoint of this line. Then from this midpoint, we're going to draw a curved window top. Make sure it's symmetrical using your midpoint. Then you can erase the guidelines we drew earlier. Now take your ruler again and draw a parallel line just outside of the first line that you did. Then this will complete those sides of your window. Now do the same for the top of the window. Carefully trace a line just outside of the one you've just done. Now to start Heather's face, we're going to draw a simple circle and then draw a guide line in the middle of it, like so. Now place 2 ears on the left side of her face. Now since she's facing away from us, draw her cheeks by placing 2 curved lines under each ear. Now from her ear, following the curve of the circle, draw a sloping line down for her forehead, and then an angled line for her mouth. Then fill in the details of her nose and eyes like so. Now around her neck, we're going to draw a scarf similar to the one in the cover by just drawing a curved rectangle. Now I've just marked her shoulder with a circle and then drawn a curved line for her back. Now complete her arm, continuing from that circle, and add her elbow curving up toward her chest. Now add 2 lines extending from her waist to complete her skirt. To draw Picket, simply draw a circle with 2 ears on either side, and then extend his cheeks and his forehead. Now finish him off with a cape formed by 2 flowing lines. Now take your compass, and if you can, insert your pen, but if you can't, just use your pencil. We're going to draw the circle in the middle of the stained glass window where the picture of King Jupiter will go. First, take a few scrap pieces of paper and test the size of your circle to see if it's what you want for your picture. You'll notice I've left a few gaps in the circle. That's on purpose to make it look as if it's the border of a stained glass window and the light is reflecting off of it. Now once you found the right size circle, simply transfer it to your watercolor paper, directly with pen. Now once that's done, extend your compass a small bit, and now we're going to make a slightly bigger circle right around that first circle. Make sure you put the first leg of your compass directly in the middle where you put it before, so that your circles will line up. Once that's done, we're going to start the sketch of King Jupiter by drawing a squarish oval and then adding a smaller circle near the bottom. Extend this circle with basically a flat-topped triangle, and then draw two curved lines where the triangle and the circle meet. Draw two eyebrows above those two lines you've just drawn, and then add an almond shape going straight through the lines to form King Jupiter's eyes. I've added two lines extending down from his eyes just to add more detail. Once that's done, add an oval shape for his nose, and then add his mouth. After that, add two curved lines extending from the corners of his nose to his chin to add his muzzle. Next, add two wavy lines to form his ears. Now, for the insides of his ears, add two lines that meet in the middle and then curve out. Then finish off his neck, and then add two shoulder pads, which will form his armor. Then fill in his shirt with just two simple lines. To start the crown, draw a curved line across the forehead. Then add curved flame shapes that taper to a point at the top. Draw a diamond shape in the middle to form the green ember, and then add several smaller round jewels near the base of the crown. Now draw several wavy shapes at the bottom of the window to form the hills in the background. These can go any way you want. Now to start the kneeling rabbit in the front, add a oval shape going toward the left, and then add ears in a guideline in the middle. Next, draw a circle for his chest, and then a curved line for his back, and then form his front leg with a curved line, and then extend his foot to the ground. Draw a circle for his shoulder, and then draw his arm resting on his leg, like this. Then finish off his face by tapering it to a point and adding a closed eye. It's about the same process for the other rabbit, he's just standing. Draw a circle for his chest, add his arm and shoulder, then add a miniature version of the crown you just drew in the middle of the paper, in his hand. Add a small oval shape for his open eye, and then add a circle to guide where his hips go. Next, I'm going to draw a cape on both rabbits with curved lines flowing behind them, and a small scarf around their neck. On the farthest hills in the background, add triangle shapes to form trees in varying sizes, with some smaller ones in the background overlapping them. Next, take your ruler and draw several sun rays around your picture. Don't make them too symmetrical. You want some of different sizes. Next, I'm just adding several crisscrossing and curved lines to add some detail to the hills. In stained glass, you always want to add more lines than you really need. Now once your sketch is done, go over the entire thing with your waterproof pen. I'm adding a few more details such as fur, which can be done with short strokes in areas like around the cheeks and the bases of the ears. The folds in Heather's skirt can be made through straight lines tapering toward the top of her skirt, in groups of 2 or 3. Use your ruler to go over the straight lines you've made. For the rabbits in the stained glass, add a few more lines and details like you did in the sketch of King Jupiter, such as lines connecting the eyes in the muzzle or the eyes in the cheek. When you're inking the crown, add a few curving lines from the bottom of the crown to the top, following the curves of the flames. I've decided to add curving lines to my sky to split the sun rays into separate colors later. Moving on to the watercolor painting. First, wet your paper where you want to paint with water. Then take a light blue color and dab it into the water you've put down. Don't use brush strokes. We're going for a marbled look here, so dab your paint into your water to achieve this. Paint one square at a time in your sky, because we want to add variation in color and we don't want all the colors mixing together, or else it will look flat. Remember to wash your brush after every color in your dirty water and pick up clean water from your other water glass. Keep your dirty water and your clean water separate and never wash your brush in your clean water, or else all of your colors will end up muddy. We'll be using this water and then paint technique for the entire picture. Go ahead and fill in the top 2 rows of sun rays in your sky with varying shades of blue. Wait for one of your squares to dry before painting the square right next to it, or else your colors will mix and all the variation will be lost. Here I'm just adding some lines with my pen to the rabbit's capes that I forgot to do earlier. Once you make sure that your blue squares are dry, add water and then fill in the sun rays below them with light yellow. The squares next to them we're going to fill in with some light orange. You can add small amounts of other colors to your brush while you're doing this technique, such as pink and red. On your very bottom layer of sun rays, add a few bright orangey pink sun rays, but don't make all of them this color. Now fill in the circle around King Jupiter with water and then very watered down yellow. Just add a tinge of it, don't cover the paper with it. Now I've just filled in his shirt with red, and now I'm putting water on his face, avoiding his eyes, and then dropping in some light brown. Be careful of your edges when you're using this water technique. Wherever your water is, your paint will go. So don't put water over the lines that you don't want to cross. Now I'm taking some dark brown watercolor paint without adding water first, and then I'm taking some clean water and blending it into the highlighted portions of King Jupiter's face. This will add some shading that's nicely blended with the highlighted areas. Don't forget to fill in the insides of his ears with light pink. Next, color in his armor with some vibrant yellow. And then you can lift a highlight off using a paper towel. Now to start the crown, put in a layer of water, then drop in some light yellow, then pick up orange with your brush and put it at the bottom of the crown, not at the top. We're going to create a gradient from yellow to an orangey pink. So apply orangey pink near the bottom, and do the same for all sections of the crown. Make sure to leave the jewels white, don't color them in yet. Next, fill in his eyes with a very dark brown, but leave the top portion lighter as if his eyes are reflecting light. To color in the green ember, take some bright green paint on your brush and apply it to the paper without adding water to the paper first. Then take some blue and then yellow and then drop them in various places to the green ember. You can fill in the other jewels with just some simple reddish orange. Next, take some watered down reddish orange and apply faint lines following the curved lines that you've already got on your crown. Finish off this portion of the painting by applying a very light, almost creamy brown to King Jupiter's muzzle. Then take water and apply it to the ring around your circle. Then drop in dark bluish green paint in one area. Then add bright green, then purple, then more bright green in other areas of the circle to finish off this ring. Continue using these techniques to color in the rabbits and the background of the rest of the window. Remember to keep variation between different sections of the painting. For example, use different shades of green for sections of the hills. Now once your window is done, apply water to Heather's fur and then drop in some light brown, mostly in the shadowed areas. Then as your brush runs out of paint, extend it to the highlighted areas and they'll be lighter. Before the paint dries, add in a few dabs of bright colors like bright yellow, pink, and green to represent reflected light from the window she's looking at. Now I'm adding another layer of color by adding dark brown into the shadowed areas of her face and then blending it into the highlights with plain water. To deepen the shadow behind her head, add some dark blue and mix it into the brown, and then add it to the deepest shadows. For Pickett's fur, add some light brownish gray and apply it to the shadows, leaving the edges of his head white. Use light washes to fill in both of their clothes, blue and purple for Heather, and green and dark brown for Pickett. Fill in Heather's eye with a dark brown, leaving a few areas white to represent highlights. Use a small brush in very dark black to fill in the border of your window. Now add dark brown with side-to-side strokes to the border at the bottom of the window to look like a wooden plank. Drop in some dark blue in your shadows, just like you did with Heather's fur. Now mix some dark brown, blue, and black and apply it to the very corners of your paper outside the window. Add some water as you get near the window to represent the light coming from the window. Once your painting is completely dry, you might need to go over the lines again with your pen to make them a little bit thicker and to make them pop more. Once you're done with this step, your painting is complete. I hope you had fun and enjoy the rest of the week of Green Ember. See you guys next time.